what's up everyone? It's Josh with Spiritual Guidance, and today I am here with a question and answer video. So typically I do 2 videos a week. I do a informational video on Mondays that covers a spiritual topic that my guides bring up that day for that video. And then I get questions through my website, which is spiritualguidance33.com. You can submit a question there by going all the way down to the bottom of the page and filling out the question form. Or you can find me on Facebook at Spiritual Guidance, or you can comment in the comment section on this video or any of my videos, and I'll add those comments or those questions to the list. And when I get to them, I will cover them here on my question and answer video. So today's topic is the person asked, do I have to talk to spirits? And my answer to that is, my short answer is no. My long answer is I want to talk about boundaries, spiritual boundaries. So in life, we have our physical boundaries. We have our boundaries that we hold to our fellow humans, where no one's allowed to step into my bubble and touch me without my permission. In your household, between you and your wife or you and your kids, you may have a boundary set with each other for a number of different things. For the boundary is when I'm sleeping, you don't come across this side of the bed because I'm comfortable and I don't want you messing with me. Or when I am in the bathroom, you don't open the door. That's common knowledge, and that's just boundaries. So those are kind of physical world boundaries that we uphold. And I mean, you really have to uphold those. When you're out in public, it's not okay for someone to just walk up and give you a hug if you don't know them, and so on. So we have our boundaries. So when it comes to spiritual boundaries, when you get into doing spiritual work, no matter if it's healing or even just channeling and talking with spirit, or trying to get to know spirit, talking with your spirit guides and so on, once you start to dabble into the spiritual world that way and interacting with it, you want to come up with a sense of boundaries. With that being said, even if you don't go in and start dabbling with that, you can still set boundaries for your spirit guides or for the universe, for God, on what you do and don't want. Some people communicate with their guides through just seeing numbers. They don't actually see them or talk to them, or seeing synchronicities. They just communicate with them by talking out loud, and the spirit guides will answer in real world forms, such as if they ask a question, they may read a book or feel led to read a book, and when they read that book, they get their answer to that question, and so on. So that's still communicating with your guides, with the other side, with spirit. You want to establish a sense of boundaries there, and then you go to your more people that dive into the spiritual world, that actually see spirit or hear spirit or can sense spirit, can communicate with spirit, their spirit guides and so on. Then you gotta get a little bit more in depth with your boundaries. So I will just cover all those really quick, and to answer that question. So when it comes to spiritual boundaries, you are going to want to sit down with a journal, or you can voice record, or you can just say them out loud. I always recommend recording them down, though, so you can remember them yourself. And when you write stuff down, especially if you use like a pencil on paper, it's a real grounding and a real energy transference going on there. And that will, that can sometimes amplify it just to really get your point across and to really make it more real for you and the universe. So sit down and you're going to want to establish these boundaries. So if you're dabbling into the spiritual world, you want to have a good team of guides behind you. If you're speaking with spirits and so on, you want to have a strong team of spirit guides. If you're speaking with spirits, so get those spirit guides, figure out who they are, and set boundaries with them, and set boundaries with other spirits. For example, when I was first starting, I would have a spirit come to me, and the visions, and even my spirit guides, the visions and the communication was so fast, I would miss it. So I came up with the boundary of, look, when you come to me and you're telling me something, and you're trying to get a message along to me, can you please slow it down and make it to where I can see it? And then another boundary I set is, if I don't get it the first time, replay that vision or that word or whatever it is until I get that message. Unless if I say, you know what, give me another message, please, because I'm not understanding that one. And they will. They'll give me another form to say what they were just saying. Another vision to say what they were just saying, and it works out. When spirits come to you, a lot of the times spirits will try to come in all at once, and they will bombard you. And if you can't see them and you can just hear them, you may start hearing a ton of different voices. You may start sensing more than one spirit in the room, and so on. What was happening with me is, I would have multiple spirits coming down from all angles. And what I did is I said, okay, look, from here on out, when spirits come, and this is my spirit guides that are organizing this and helping me obtain or hold these boundaries. So when spirits come to me, from here on out, they are to be in a single file line. So they're not allowed to come and just be from all angles. Now, what happens occasionally is I'll have spirits come in a single file line, and if there's one that's really, really wanting my attention, he'll butt up to the front of the line and really try to get my attention. So a lot of the times that happens if someone's asking to speak with another spirit. So if someone comes and says, I want to speak with my son, and I call on their son to see if he's available to talk, and then I have their dad coming through that really needs to give them a message. I see their son in the background, but their dad's right here, and I cannot hear what the son's saying. All I can hear is what the dad's saying, and I will either have to have my guides kindly escort him to the back of the line, or I'll ask, do you want to hear from your dad? Because your dad's here, and he needs to get something through to you first. And obviously, a lot of the times, or most of the times, they say yeah, and so on. But basically, that's a good sense of holding boundaries. Another boundary is sometimes people, when they first get into it, spirits, when they come through, they will give you a, so if they died from a heart attack, you may get a chest pain or an arm pain or a neck pain. If they died from pneumonia, you might start having trouble breathing and so on. And that's not something that I like. I don't really like feeling their pains for a few reasons. For one, because it's uncomfortable. And for two, I feel, and this is just my belief, my opinion, that if a spirit is making me feel what they felt, that means that their energy is mingling within my body and within that organ, and almost as if that energy is passing along that type of an illness to me. I don't, and obviously the divine will make sure it gets out 9 times out of 10, or my cleansing process after I speak with spirit and so on. But what if a little bit gets stuck in there and I end up with some kind of pneumonia or something? So I don't typically like to let spirit give me any pains. So one of my boundaries with that is, don't give me any pains of the spirit. If they want to get my attention, I'm really clairvoyant. So if they want to get my attention, they can have the person standing there and highlight a part of their body, or they can point to their heart, or they can show me a heart exploding if they had a heart attack, or whatever it may be. But I don't want to feel it. So pretty much I set that boundary earlier on, because I did feel it a couple of times, And it wasn't a big deal. And once you acknowledge it, it goes away. But I got to thinking, I don't really like that. So I got rid of that. Other boundaries, such as spirits can only come to me between the hours of 9 a.m. and 10 p.m. You can set that boundary. You can say 9 a.m. to 10 p.m. throughout the week and not on the weekend. You can really set that boundary, but you have to uphold that boundary. So if you say, I only want to talk to spirits from 9 until 10, and then it's 10:30, 11 o'clock, and you start communicating with spirits, then your guides are going to get a little bit confused along with the spirits in the spirit world, and they're going to say, okay, well, she let us come through this time, or he let us come through this time, so let's come back again tomorrow or the next time. It might be okay. And our spirit guides will always give us a choice, so they'll always kind of test a little bit and see if we're okay with that. And so you have to uphold your boundaries. Another boundary that I have is no spirits allowed to touch me. No spirits allowed to touch me. Now, that's with the exception of my father-in-law. He likes to, for some reason, get energy on my leg when he comes along, like on my shin area. I feel a little bit of energy going down, almost like there's a spider crawling down my leg or something. For some reason, I guess that's just an easier cue for him, but that's what I get whenever he's around. My spirit guides, they'll touch the top of my head whenever I have a message. So other than that, though, no spirit's allowed to come down here and touch me. Every once in a while, when I was first doing all this, when I would see a kid spirit, they would grab the back of my shirt and they would tug on it. And that really kind of helped me, because for some reason, sometimes I couldn't see children's spirits for whatever reason. So when they tug on my shirt, I would turn around and there would be a little kid standing there. So that was my way of communicating. And I still allow kids' spirits to tug on my shirt if they're for the highest good of all, no harm to none. Anything bad or evil, it's not allowed to touch me. And along with all that, I have my bubble of bright light protection. So I'm always doing protection. I'm always trying to uphold my boundaries as strong as I possibly can. And that's kind of just the way you have to be. I mean, some people, especially growing up as kids, which it would be nice if we taught our kids growing up that they have boundaries that they can set, because they would have monsters, which are really just spirits coming in the room trying to communicate with them. Now, of course, there's some dark entities that will try to come in and mess with kids or whatever. But if you teach your kids, or if you set those boundaries within your house, because this house is yours. This is your boundary. This is your property. Nothing's allowed in here unless if you give it permission. So a lot of people, when they're laying in bed, they'll see a spirit, and that's kind of scary to a lot of people. So you can say, no spirits are allowed to come in my bedroom. I don't want that. And I kind of set that earlier on as well when my clairaudience, which is hearing, spirits started to kick up a lot. I would hear spirits having conversations in my room, and I would tell them to go away, and they wouldn't sometimes. And that's because I didn't have a strong sense of boundaries. Now I do, and now they don't. They don't talk in my room anymore. There's no spirits in my house unless if I allow them in my house. And if there ever is a spirit that squeaks by and comes into my house, it's not going to be a bad spirit. And it's going to be someone that really needs my attention, and they come to me in a very polite way. So, and to answer your question, or the question that was asked, you do not have to speak with spirit. If spirit is talking with you, and spirit, if you're all of a sudden opening up and you hear spirits all the time, or you're hearing voices, or you are sensing spirit and so on, you can set that boundary that you do not want to see spirit, or you do not want to talk with spirit. because you don't have to. In this world, in this physical world, you have free will, and free will trumps everything. So if something comes down here, you rule this dimension. Nothing else can come down into this dimension and do anything to you that you don't want it to do. In some way, shape, or form, you give things permission to do things to you. So to understand that, really truly understand that, it gives you a power of understanding, look, I have control over my realm. I have control over this dimension. No spirits are allowed to invade my privacy or invade in my boundaries and so on. So I think sitting down and doing those spiritual boundaries is a really good thing. Even if you're not able to see, hear, sense, spirit, it's really good to set down some boundaries with your spirit guides. If you don't hear, see, or sense spirit or anything, but you still have a way of communicating with your guides, sit down and think of different things that you may want boundaries with. And you can set rules. It's just like a teacher on the first day of class. And there's a ton of ways to look at this. But, when that teacher sits down with the students, she says, okay, these are the rules of the class. This is how it's going to go. And that's that. And that's basically what you're doing. You're not being disrespectful to your guides. You're not being disrespectful to God or anybody. You're just saying, look, this is how I want all this to go. And when you're setting those boundaries, you're not just going to go in and say, okay, I want this boundary, I want that boundary. You're going to get in a posture and you're going to get into a frequency that's really genuine, that's really, you're just saying it with your heart. And you're saying, look, this is my boundary. This is what I want. And you write that down, or you say it out loud, or just talk with your spirit guides. But you can set rules such as, spirit guides, I want you to use numbers to help guide me. Or I want you to use words in books to help guide me, or songs on the radio to help guide me, and so on. So you can set rules like that. So, and for the people that are a little bit more into the spiritual world, talking to spirit and everything, you can set rules as well. Like I said, I have one at a time comes up. No spirit's allowed to touch me. You can set rules where I don't want to see someone getting murdered. I don't want to see anything grim or anything like that. Or someone was just talking to me today, and they said that they set a boundary with their guides that they don't want to see anything negative or bad about a person. They just want to see good, and when they get messages for that person, they only want it to be for that person's highest and best. And I too set a boundary like that, where I do not want to know when someone's going to die. I don't want to know if someone's going to be badly hurt, and so on. I only want what's highest and best for that person. So you set those boundaries. And then one last thing that I want to talk about is just our spirit guides and our spirit guide group. It's really important to have a strong set of guides behind you. I have two main guides that are with me at all times. I have a teacher guide for when I am coming up with curriculum or trying to figure out what I want to talk about. I have a protection guide. I have a healing guide that helps with my healing, along with Archangel Raphael, who helps me as well. And I have a communication guide that helps me with communicating to the other side. I actually have two male guides that help me communicate with the other side. They act as gatekeepers, is what some people call them. So I have you have a lot of different guides for a lot of different things. So utilize that and set your team of guides to help you in different ways. Ask for a guide to help you with a certain something. If you're in college, ask for a teacher guide to help teach you some of the things, or help things flow a little bit along better with your schooling. If you're an automotive technician, ask for an automotive technician guide to come down and help you. I mean, you can do that. So even a doctor, you can ask for a doctor spirit guide to come down to you and help guide you, help you come up with an answer for something. Obviously, it's probably not going to hold in the doctor community if they give you a solution to something, but you can figure out a way to make that work. So with all that being said, I just want you all to know that you have the power in this dimension to do whatever it is that you want. You set the rules, and everything goes the way that you want it to go, especially when it comes to communicating with the spiritual world and so on. If a spirit comes to you, you can ask them or tell them to leave. If they don't leave, have your guides escort them. If they don't leave after that and they're still being stubborn, then you may need to look into having someone cleanse or something of that nature. But no spirit, you don't have to talk with any spirit. You don't have to communicate with any spirit you don't want to. So if that ever comes about, tell that spirit you don't want to talk right now, and ask them to leave. And then from there, you would set boundaries with your spirit guide, saying you do not want that spirit to come back, or any spirit to come back. So I think you get the point, though. You have boundaries that you need to set, and you can set them, and you can set any rule that you want. So I hope this helped you guys. I really, really appreciate you all watching my videos. If you like this video, just give it a thumbs up if it helps you in any way. And if you want to see more of these types of videos, just hit the subscribe button, and you can hit the notification button so you get notified when I do a new video. If you're interested in any kind of one-on-one sessions, you can get a hold of me at spiritualguidance33.com, and we can set up a one-on-one session for whatever it is that you need. I do healing, I do readings, I do consultations, I do a lot of spiritual advising, and so on. So I really appreciate you all, and I hope you all have a great rest of your day or night, and I'll see you next time.